Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. In today's update, we are going to do a complete Elliott Waves analysis on Near's protocol's price chart in like very short time because the structures in here are actually quite interesting and I think Near might be on the path to absolutely 100% invalidate the scenario that we had in mind in the previous updates. Now, before we get into all that, let's talk about indicators and if I just zoom in a bit more, at least in the short term, okay, maybe this is a confirmed buy signal in a stock RSI, but as long as you're not seeing a buy signal in MACD in here, I would urge you to just be a little bit patient and careful and maybe just set this one out. Why? Because right in here, as long as we are not having a buy signal in MACD, this doesn't really guarantee this buy signal in stock RSI to work. We may very well continue our move down for the next couple of days, and if that happens and at the same time you have opened a long position in here, well, okay, unfortunately you are going to get your stop loss hit. On the other hand though, if we end up having a buy signal in MACD from these areas, that's actually going to be a very positive sign. Why? Because pay attention, what do we have on the live chart? This is a low, the other one is a lower low. However, in MACD, as you can see, this is a low, the other one is a higher low. So if we end up having a buy signal in here in MACD, at that point, it is going to be essentially confirmed that yes, we do have a bit of a bullish divergence in here, and combine that with this signal in a stock RSI, it means probably the buy signal is going to work and it is going to send us up. But for now, I would argue it's really not a good time to go long in Near protocol. Now, what is going on in weekly time frame? And as you can see, okay, unfortunately now in Near in weekly chart we are having sell signals in both of these indicators at the same time. So again, once more, definitely not an ideal sign, suggesting yeah, our move down is probably going to continue a bit more. Now let's talk about Elliott Waves and talk about what happened in Near, because the last time that we talked about it, I think we were somewhere around these areas, and the idea was that, well, okay, if we want to prove that we are actually bullish, then we have to, again, really important point, we said we have to from here get a very strong bounce back in form of a 1 2 3 4 5 followed by a bit of a deep pullback on the downside. And okay, fair enough, assuming that in here we do have all the right structures and all the correct subwaves, it can be a beautiful buying opportunity. And we said right in here, at least, it's a little bit too soon to be completely optimistic. Now, in terms of the overall structures, if you are a new viewer, you should know that as long as in Near protocol we are not taking this importance law about, let's say, basically $1, we are allowed to argue this is ABC on the upside, and I do actually think, as opposed to an impulse, this is definitely an ABC up into a larger degree wave W, followed by a correction for wave X, and we can expect yet another move on the upside into our wave Y by the end of this cycle. But again, if this count is happening, our move up is not necessarily going to be in form of a 5 wave. I mean, it can be, do not get me wrong. For instance, we can start going up immediately in form of a 5 wave, and at that point this whole structure is going to be, as opposed to a WXY, just a simple ABC flat structure, and then we are going to have a very strong move on the downside. On the other hand, there's also a scenario suggesting maybe, as opposed to an impulse, this is just going to be an ABC in form of a zigzag structure. And based on right now, at least, how deep our pullback actually has gotten, I'm here to tell you this. Even if you want to argue this double zigzag is playing out, which usually suggests our move up is going to be quite strong, even according to this scenario, I can tell you, based on this pullback, for our second ABC zigzag in here play out, we can actually consider a target somewhere around the previous major pivot high on monthly time frame, which is this one, about, let's say, $9 to $11-12. And why did I say $12? Because you see, when we got this move down, it actually happened a little bit too fast, and as a result of it, right in here we created a very clear gap in weekly time frame. And since in my view, gaps 95+% of the time are going to get filled. Okay, makes sense to argue one very likely target for near by the end of this cycle is going to be reaching to about these areas and filling this gap. But pay attention, I don't really think that in near we are going to at that point go like a whole lot higher and, for example, take the all-time high about $20 and go like much higher than that. I do not believe, at least right now, such a scenario is in play. Now, having said all this, if you remember a couple of minutes earlier, I told you as long as we are not taking this importance low about 97 cents, basically $8, we can consider this WXY or maybe this ABC flat 2 playing out. And this is really the point. You see, I think in near protocol, we are probably soon going to continue our move down and take this importance low, and then we can expect a bit of a bounce. Why is that? Two important reasons actually. Let's go on H4 time frame and check out the recent move on the downside, and maybe it's best to hide everything. There we go. So around these areas, the main question I think has to be this: from what point exactly should we start counting waves? I would like to argue, since this is such a strong move on the upside in form of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe you are better off considering this whole move as just, excuse me, let's hide everything, maybe an A, B, C in form of a flat structure, and you should actually count waves from these areas. Now, let's not even be pessimistic in here and let's go with like some sort of an optimistic scenario according to that possibility. Okay, this is going to be from the highs, there we go, and A, B, C in form of a zigzag. And if I just go around here, there we go, you see, for an ABC zigzag for our sub waves, we're gonna have 5 down into a correction for wave B. It can be in different forms, doesn't really matter, followed by yet another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down into C. Now, here's a very important point. If I just zoom in a bit more, you are immediately going to realize that finding an impulse into our wave A is actually relatively easy. You can say, this is 1, this is 2, this is probably our wave 3 to about this point, maybe a triangle for 4, followed by another move down into wave 5. You can also maybe consider this point the end of your wave 5, followed by some sort of an ABC expanded flat structure. Again, doesn't really matter. The main point actually comes down to our C leg. Why? Because let's go on 30-minute time frame and zoom out a bit more. You see, I can tell you that this is 1, this is 2, this is wave 3, this is 4, this is 5. Followed by that, we are having definitely a correction structure on the upside. And let's say from here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on a higher degree, I think I should say this is 1, this is 2, this is wave 3, and wait a minute. Where is our wave 4 and 5? Answer is right now, at least we don't really have it yet. And odds are the current structure that we are actually in, I would argue it's probably a correction for 4. I'm going to tell you in a bit why. Meaning, what's going to happen next? Yep, unfortunately, another move down into wave 5. And in this phase down, we can in here actually take the lows somewhere around, I think it was 90 cents to $1 area. Now, do I have another reason to believe, you know what, maybe our move down is going to continue? The answer is yes, and that one actually comes down to classic TA, meaning supports and resistances. You see, one very important reason for why I was saying, you know what, from here we have to go up and reclaim this level if we want to be optimistic, actually came down to the fact that under here we really do not have a whole lot of strong support. And I remember specifically saying, look, what you do not want to see is a pullback and then a continuation of the move down in order to take the lows, because at that point it's essentially going to be confirmed that yes, this level is broken, and because under here we don't have a lot of strong support, odds are the next target is going to be taking the lowest low in your protocol in here about $1 area, and maybe we're going to go like just a little bit lower than that, and then we are going to start bouncing in a very strong manner. Now, Here is my final reason for why I think our move down in here might actually continue just a little bit more in the next couple of days. You see, this one actually comes down to BTC, and I'll be honest with you guys, I don't really think that our move down in Bitcoin is over. However, please pay attention, I do think that we are quite close to the end of our move on the downside. So again, why not consider also having another move down in near protocol, and the moment that BTC bounces also in near, we are in my view going to witness some good moves on the upside. But for now, especially if you go on some lower time frames, for example 15-minute time frame, you are immediately going to realize that yes, this is just a three-wave movement in form of an ABC, maybe a flat, maybe a zigzag, doesn't really matter. And the moment that in this phase down we took this important low, our correction right in here essentially got confirmed, suggesting yep, unfortunately our move down is just not over yet. So for now, let's count on another move on the downside, and then hopefully we're going to make new videos and talk about what might be the next likely move, and hopefully it is going to be a good one on the upside. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in here. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.